You know how sometimes learning a new language feels, well, a bit like trying to decipher instructions for something complicated, like half the diagrams are missing.
Oh, totally.
You
Yeah.
sort of get the gist, but putting it all together so it actually works in the real world, that's that's the real puzzle.
Definitely.
But what if we could, ditch the abstract instructions and learn by actually building something meaningful instead?
Right.
Because these days, how we learn languages and how we learn about the world, well, they're getting so intertwined. It's like trying to separate coffee and milk once you've poured it.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of content and language integrated learning, or CLIL.
CLIL, right?
Yeah. Instead of treating English like this, like a separate subject in its own little box,
Mm-hmm.
CLIL uses real-world topics, history, science, even, how businesses work, as the actual vehicle for picking up the language.
Right.
Think of it less like studying a map and maybe more like actually navigating a new city. You learn as you go, right? And it sticks better.
That makes sense.
And it's a method that's really taking off in places like, say, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, places where speaking more than one language isn't just nice, it's pretty essential.
And today, we're diving deep into a source of wisdom. You might not immediately connect with English language learning, but trust me, it's gold.
Okay.
The legendary Warren Buffett.
Ah, okay. Interesting choice.
Yeah. Now, you might just see a billionaire investor, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's so much more than just someone who's like really good with numbers.
Mm-hmm.
In this super speed, always on hustle age we live in, he's this fascinating figure of patience. Someone who's built an empire with a real long-term vision.
Right, the opposite of instant results.
Exactly. They even call the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting the Woodstock for capitalists,
I've heard that.
which kind of tells you this isn't your average stuffy boardroom chat.
It absolutely does. And what's truly insightful, I think, is how Buffett's fundamental approach, his way of looking at business and life, it really mirrors the core ideas behind CLIL.
How so?
Oh, well, particularly what's known as the 4Cs framework.
The 4 Cs. Okay.
Yeah, think of it like this. We have content. That's the actual stuff we're learning. Then there's communication, using the language to, explore that content.
Right.
Then cognition, the thinking skills we develop along the way. Critical thinking, problem solving.
Got it.
And finally, culture and community, understanding the broader context, the values, connecting with others.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit then.
Yeah.
Because maybe your first thought is, what does an investor, even a famous one, have to do with teaching English?
Fair question.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Our mission today is to explore how Buffett's life and his work offer this surprisingly rich and engaging set of content and language learning opportunities, all within that CLIL framework.
Mhm.
We're promising some moments, hopefully, and some really practical ideas for anyone interested in making learning more relevant and maybe understanding the world a little better.
Precisely. I mean, CLIL works best when the subject matter is genuinely interesting
Right.
and meaningful.
Yeah, you need that hook.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond just memorizing grammar rules or vocab lists and actually engaging with topics that have real-world relevance. And Warren Buffett offers exactly that.
Okay.
He's not just some abstract financial entity. He's a real person with a pretty compelling story, rooted in Omaha and the evolution of Berkshire Hathaway, which actually started as a textile company, if you can believe it.
No way! A textile company.
Yeah. Bit of a plot twist there.
Totally. It's like finding out your favorite superhero had a really mundane D job before they got their powers or something.
Huh, yeah, kind of. And then you look at the sheer variety of businesses he got involved in later.
Right.
We're talking everything from insurance companies, major railways, to household names like Coca-Cola and See's Candies.
See's Candies. Good stuff.
And even, eventually, his embrace of tech giants like Apple.
Yeah, that was a big move for him.
It really was. And this gives us this incredibly diverse range of real-world situations we can explore and discuss using English.
So what's the hook there, content-wise? What concepts does he bring?
Well, what's fascinating is his focus on what he calls economic moats.
Moats, like a castle.
Exactly like a castle. Think of it like a castle with a really deep, wide moat. It makes it incredibly difficult for rivals to attack and take over.
Okay, I get it.
So in business, these moats are the things that give a company a sustainable advantage. Maybe unique technology, really strong brand loyalty, or a big cost advantage.
Ah, okay. Like Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola is the prime example. With its iconic brand and global reach, Buffett recognized the power of that moat really early on, which is why he invested for the long haul.
Right.
And these ideas, like economic moats, they provide really tangible business vocabulary and concepts, things you can explore and understand through English.
And like you said, the guy's not stuck in the past. His decision to invest in Apple after years of famously avoiding tech stocks,
Yeah, that surprised a lot of
it
people.
really highlights his ability to adapt, doesn't it? And his willingness to learn about new industries while still sticking to his core investment principles.
Ab-
It's a fantastic lesson in staying curious and, open to new ideas no matter how much experience you have.
Which brings us very neatly to the communication aspect of the 4 Cs.
Okay, communication.
Buffett isn't just a brilliant investor, he's a remarkably clear communicator. He has this incredible knack for taking really complex financial and business ideas and explaining them in plain, straightforward English. His annual letters to shareholders, which, by the way, are available for anyone to read online, they're just a treasure trove of clear, concise business language.
Right? People talk about those letters all the time. We should put a link in the show notes.
We definitely should.
And they're not boring, are they? Not just dry technical documents. He peppers them with these incredibly memorable quotes that just stick in your head.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient.
Classic.
Or, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful.
Yep. Another great one.
And even the classic, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it.
So true.
These aren't just catchy phrases, right?
Yeah.
They're packed with meaning. And they offer fantastic opportunities in CLIL lessons for starking discussions, analyzing, figurative language, and really understanding how to express complex ideas simply and powerfully.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And let's not forget his style at the Berkshire Hathaway annual meetings, that folksy, often humorous approach.
Yeah, the Woodstock for capitalists.
Right. They can go on for hours, apparently, but he keeps people engaged by making these potentially dense topics surprisingly accessible, even entertaining.
That ability to connect with an audience through clear, engaging communication. Well, that's a powerful skill in any language, isn't it?
Undeniably.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about cognition. The thinking skills. How does Buffett fit in there?
Well, one of his key concepts, and it's really insightful, is the circle of competence.
Circle of competence. Tell me more.
What's really key here is Buffett's emphasis on truly understanding what you know, and maybe even more importantly, what you don't know.
Oh, wow.
He stresses the value of staying within those areas of genuine understanding when you're making decisions.
So it's not about limiting yourself.
Not exactly. It's more about encouraging honest self-assessment, avoiding situations where you're essentially just guessing or hoping. It's a powerful lesson in intellectual humility, really.
It really is. And he's famous for saying that rationality is more important than having a super high IQ when it comes to investing and making good decisions generally.
Yes.
That's such a valuable takeaway for learners, isn't it?
Yeah.
That clear, logical thinking, keeping your emotions in check, often more effective than just being the smartest person in the room.
Precisely. Couldn't have said it better. And his emphasis on long-term thinking and what he calls delayed gratification, well, that's such a contrast to the instant results mentality we often see today.
Oh, definitely.
He understood the power of compounding over time, not just in investments, but also in learning, in building relationships.
Right.
Even when he was young, apparently, he was fascinated by how small amounts could grow over time if you just left them alone. That's a mindset students can really benefit from cultivating.
And moving beyond just financial success, he also talks a lot about his inner scorecard. What's that about?
Yeah, the inner scorecard versus the outer scorecard. It's about focusing on your personal values, your own sense of right and wrong.
Okay.
He emphasizes living according to your own internal moral compass rather than constantly seeking approval or applause from others.
That quote about reputation, 20 years to build, 5 minutes to ruin. That fits here too, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It really underscores the critical importance he places on trust and ethical behavior. Values that are, well, relevant in any culture, any language.
Okay, so that leads us nicely into the final C, culture and community. He's not just operating in a vacuum, right? He's built significant relationships. His actions have had a wide impact.
Exactly. Think about his long and incredibly successful intellectual partnership with Charlie Munger.
Right, his right-hand man for decades.
Yeah. Their different but complementary ways of thinking were apparently crucial to Berkshire Hathaway's success. And then there's his close friendship with Bill Gates, which led to this extraordinary commitment to philanthropy through the Giving Pledge, where he's committed to giving away the vast majority of his wealth to charitable causes.
It's also interesting to see his connections with people from, well, outside the traditional business world, like Jay-Z or LeBron James.
Yeah, those are surprising to some people.
What do those seemingly unlikely friendships tell us?
I think it really highlights Buffett's openness to different perspectives, his recognition of talent and entrepreneurial drive in all sorts of fields, not just finance.
Right.
He seems to see in them the same kind of sharp thinking and determination that he values in business leaders. It shows a curiosity, maybe, a willingness to engage with different generations, different ways of achieving success.
And his philosophy on wealth. Wanting to give his children enough so they can do anything, but not so much that they could do nothing.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
It really speaks volumes about his values, his understanding of the importance of purpose, of contribution.
It does. It reinforces his emphasis on building character, making your own way. Ultimately, a lot of his wisdom seems to boil down to the importance of trust, both giving it and earning it, which is, fundamental to any strong community.
So, okay, for educators listening, people wanting to apply this, how can they actually take these ideas and use them in a CLIL classroom? Can you give us some concrete examples? How does Buffett's world become a resource for language learning?
Absolutely. Well, think about using excerpts from his shareholder letters, like we mentioned.
Right.
They are rich in business vocabulary, obviously, but they also use clear, logical argumentation. Students can analyze that. For example, you could have students identify conditional clauses he uses. If this happens, then that. Or analyze how he supports his investment decisions with evidence.
That makes perfect sense. So analyzing the language and the thinking. And what about those memorable quotes we talked about earlier?
Oh, they're fantastic starting points for classroom discussions.
Yep.
Really great. You can ask students to interpret the meaning, maybe rephrase them in their own words, or even debate whether they agree or disagree with the sentiment. It's a great way to work on vocabulary, critical thinking, and importantly, expressing opinions clearly in English.
Yeah, I can see that working well. I can also imagine students maybe taking on roles.
Yeah.
Like pretending to be financial analysts and writing their own mock shareholder letters for fictional companies.
Ooh, I like that.
Trying to incorporate Buffett's principles and maybe even his clear, engaging writing style.
Exactly. That's a brilliant idea. And his life story, his key business decisions, they can serve as really engaging case studies for exploring ethical dilemmas, perhaps, or for analyzing long-term strategic thinking. Why did he stick with Coca-Cola for so long? What were the risks and rewards with Apple? What can we learn from his emphasis on avoiding debt? These are all really rich areas for exploration and discussion.
And all of these activities, they naturally weave together those 4 C's we talked about, right?
They really do.
You're using content from Buffett's world, developing communication skills through discussion and writing, honing cognition through analysis and critical thinking, and fostering an understanding of culture and community by exploring his values and his impact. It all fits.
Precisely. And the benefits for learners are pretty significant, I think. They become more engaged because the content feels relevant, connected to the real world.
Right. It's not just abstract grammar.
Exactly. They acquire language in a meaningful context. They develop crucial critical thinking skills, and they start to develop the skills and understanding needed to be, informed and engaged global citizens.
So, to sort of bring it all together then, it seems clear that Warren Buffett offers this incredibly valuable and, like you said, surprisingly engaging resource for CLIL. It goes way beyond the typical finance textbook.
Absolutely. Way beyond.
A clear way of communicating his strong ethical compass that focus on the long term and his globally relevant wisdom. They just provide fantastic opportunities for learning.
Couldn't agree more. His life and work really do embody important values and thinking skills. Skills that are essential for student growth, aligning perfectly with CLIL's aim to develop informed, articulate thinkers who can interact with the world in a meaningful way.
So, okay, here's a final bit of food for thought for you listening. In a world that often seems, obsessed with quick wins and immediate gratification, what incredibly valuable lessons can we learn by maybe taking a longer view, by communicating with clarity and integrity, by focusing on what truly matters, just as Warren Buffett has demonstrated throughout his remarkable career? And how might these principles not only help us understand the world better, but also guide our own learning journeys? It's definitely something worth pondering.
Good question to end on.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.